Hello and thanks for joining us for this episode. We want to say a big thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Before we get into the video, I want to talk about something deeply personal. For as long as I can remember, I've wanted to be a writer. When I was a teenager, I started to suffer from severe depression. I always thought if I got to become a full-time writer, then I'd be happy. Eventually, I did become a full-time writer, but I didn't find I was any happier. So I thought if I was just a bit more successful with my writing, I'd be happy. But I found that achieving any goals did not make me feel much better. I was depressed and worked as a writer. I know many people in life who have the same mentality. They feel like they could be with the right person, for example, or if they made more money, they'd feel better about themselves. But that isn't how happiness works. It's independent from things like your job, finances, love life, and so on. I found I felt much better after I started going to therapy. When I talked to my therapist, I felt unburdened, and then my therapist gave me some exercises and plans that have helped me live a happier life. So now I can enjoy my lifelong passion, writing, a lot more. Do you think you could benefit from therapy? Then why not check out today's sponsor, BetterHelp? One of the hardest parts about therapy is taking that first step and reaching out to a professional. But BetterHelp makes that easy. Just go to their website, and if you could use our link, we'd really appreciate it. It's betterhelp.com/criminallylisted. Then you answer a few questions, and usually within 48 hours, they'll match you with a professional who's had several years of experience helping people with similar problems. BetterHelp is also comfortable and convenient when it comes to sessions. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, on your computer or phone, via phone call, video chat, or messaging. BetterHelp also has a great deal for our viewers. If you go to betterhelp.com/criminallylisted or choose criminally listed during the sign-up process, you'll enjoy a special discount on your first month. Why not start living a happier, better life today with BetterHelp? Number 3. Hailey Bustos. In the summer of 2016, Adam Hillary was 27 years old and lived in Auburndale, Florida. Hillary was the father of a 5-year-old daughter. Earlier that summer, he had broken up with his girlfriend, who was the mother of his daughter. Hillary did a bit of amateur boxing and mixed martial arts. In August 2016, he had a job interview he was looking forward to. Early on the morning of August 19, 2016, Hillary's roommate called 911. He had found 27-year-old Am Hillary dead on the floor of their home. He had been shot once in the back of the head with a .38 caliber gun. Their home had also been robbed. The police talked to Hillary's roommate and discovered that Hillary had been on a date hours before he was killed. Hillary had brought his date back to the apartment. The roommate did not know the woman's name, but he was sure he would recognize her if he saw her. Later that same day, a woman matching the description was arrested for an unrelated burglary. Hillary's roommate was shown a photograph of the woman, and he said she was the woman who had been on a date with Hillary. She was 18-year-old Hailey Bustos. The police were able to connect Bustos to Hillary in several ways. They had met on the dating app Plenty of Fish, and that's how they set up the date. Also, shortly after their first date, which ended hours before Hillary was murdered, Bustos texted him and said, quote, "I had a good time and would like to see you again," unquote. In custody, Bustos confirmed that she met Hillary on Plenty of Fish. They went bowling, and then they went back to his apartment where they talked. He then drove her home. When she got to the apartment where she was crashing, 29-year-old Joshua Ellington and 34-year-old Gary Gray were there. She said she told them about the stuff Hillary had in his apartment, like an Xbox, iPhone, marijuana, and alcohol. She said that she went to bed. A few hours later, Ellington and Gray woke her up. They wanted her to take them to Hillary's home. They all got into a car driven by 26-year-old Andre Warner, and the four of them drove to Hillary's home. Bustos said that she and Ellington stayed in the car while Gray and Warner went inside. When they returned to the car, they had some valuables from Hillary's home. As they got into the car, they were laughing. They said they forced their way into his home at gunpoint. They said that Hailey did not put up much of a fight, but he begged for his life. He pleaded with them not to kill him because he had a 5-year-old daughter. But they forced him to get to his knees, and then Andre Warner shot him in the back of the head. The police did not entirely believe Hailey Bustos' story. They thought she intentionally went on Plenty of Fish to find someone for her and her friends to rob. Then they planned out the robbery and went to Hailey's home together. The police found the stolen items in the apartment where Bustos had been crashing. 3 days after the murder, Joshua Ellington, Gary Gray, and Andre Warner were all arrested. The trigger man, Andre Warner, was the first to go to trial in March 2020. Warner testified on his own behalf. He claimed he had nothing to do with the deadly home invasion. He said he had only let Bustos borrow his car that evening. Both Hailey Bustos and Joshua Ellington testified against Warner. Neither had agreed to a plea deal before they testified. On the stand, Bustos admitted that she wanted to get a lighter sentence and knew that testifying could get her one. But she denied that was why she was testifying. She said she was doing it out of, quote, the goodness of her heart, unquote. She also said, quote, I really don't care if I spend the rest of my life in prison. Warner deserves it too, unquote. On the stand, she admitted she signed up for Plenty of Fish to steal money from men. The jury deliberated for 2.5 hours. Andre Warner was found guilty of murder. The jury unanimously recommended he be sentenced to death, but the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the chance of parole. In August 2021, Gary Gray was found guilty and he was sentenced to 43 years of prison. In September 2021, Joshua Ellington pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and he was sentenced to 25 years of prison. Hailey Bustos, who was called the central figure in the murder, took a plea deal. In February 2022, she pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and she was sentenced to 15 years of prison. 34-year-old Andre Warner is currently serving his life sentence at the Graceville Correctional Facility in Graceville, Florida. 39-year-old Gary Gray is incarcerated at the Wacala Correctional Institution in Crawford, Florida. His projected release date is 2058, when he'll be 73. 34-year-old Joshua Ellington is serving his sentence at the Jackson Correctional Institution in Malone, Florida. His current release date is 2041. He'll be 51. Finally, 26-year-old Hailey Bustos is serving her 15-year sentence at the Florida Women's Reception Center in Ocala, Florida. She's set to be released in 2031, when she'll be 33. Number 2. Stephen Zelich. In southwest Wisconsin is the town of Geneva. On June 5, 2014, highway workers were cutting grass in a ditch along a rural road in the town. The workers found a pair of suitcases. They placed the suitcases on the side of the road and continued working. A motorist saw the suitcases and thought something was off, so they called the police. Inside the suitcases were the nude dead bodies of 2 women. They were both badly decomposed. One of them had their hands tied behind their back. The other one had a rope tied around her neck. There was also a ball gag strapped into her mouth with a collar. The body with the ball gag had several tattoos. Using the tattoos, the police matched the body to a missing persons report within a day of the discovery of the bodies. She was 37-year-old Laura Simonson from Farmington, Minnesota. Simonson had struggled with mental illness since she was a teenager. She had 7 children, but did not have custody of any of them. Simonson's mother reported her missing over half a year earlier on November 22, 2013. Simonson was last seen alive on November 2, 2013 at a motel in Rochester, Minnesota. An employee called the police after they saw the missing persons report. After the bodies were found, investigators went to the motel. They learned on November 2nd, Simonson checked into the motel with a man, 52-year-old Stephen Zelich. But the next day, Zelich checked out by himself. The police investigated Zelich. He lived in West Allis, a Milwaukee, Wisconsin suburb. He worked as a patrolman for the Mequon, Wisconsin Police Department from 1984 to 1989. He had a solid record, and there were no issues with him. From February 1989 to August 2001, he was a police officer with the West Allis Police. He had resigned from the force after 5 incidents with young women. While wearing a uniform, he had asked out several women. One woman worked at a hair salon. She said that he waited until she was done working for the day, then used his patrol car to block her car. He would then ask her out. While on the clock, Zelich would frequent a strip club. He then used the police's computer system to look up information on dancers. He then contacted them and asked them out. In May 2001, a sex worker called the police and reported Zelich. She said she met Zelich at a bar and went home with him. She heard him handling a pair of handcuffs. She became frightened, so she ran half naked out of the apartment. Zelich's superiors questioned him about the incident, and he said that she had stolen money from him. He said he tried to get the money back and there was a struggle. In August 2001, it was recommended that Zelich be terminated. Instead, 3 days after the recommendation was handed down, he resigned. He started working for a private security firm in 2007. The company had no issues with him. Zelich was active on Color Me, a dating website for people interested in BDSM. His username was Mr. Handcuffs. His profile said that he was actively seeking submissive women. The profile also said he was, quote, seeking a 24/7 slave for absolute ownership. There is nothing better than a slave tied tight, gagged, blindfolded, hooded, unquote. After the bodies were found, Zelich was still active on Color Me and other BDSM websites. Zelich and Laura Simonson had a relationship on the internet. Simonson's family also believed that Zelich had something to do with her disappearance. 3 days before Simonson's body was found, someone in her family, most likely her sister, posted on the website, quote, Stephen Mark Zelich is a sadist who has enslaved a petite female named Laura Jean Simonson. He keeps her naked, handcuffed, shacked, and caged, unquote. The police searched the motel room where Zelich and Simonson stayed. They found forensic material from both of them. On June 25, 2014, nearly 3 weeks after the bodies were found, Stephen Zelich was arrested for hiding a corpse. In custody, he admitted that he killed both women, but said they accidentally died during rough sex. They were doing a choking game, and things went too far. He said he put the bodies in suitcases and then stored them in a refrigerator, and then later in the trunk of his car. He said he didn't know the identity of the second woman, but he said she died in late 2012 or early 2013 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. He said that they had met online. The police generated an image of the woman and released it to the public. Although it was an odd image, days after it was made public, several people called the police and identified the woman. She was 19-year-old Jenny Gamis from Cottage Grove, Oregon. One of her friends said that certain features on the image made them sure it was Gamis. Gamis had high cheekbones, little eyes, big front teeth, and crooked bottom teeth. Gamis fell out of contact with her foster family and friends in 2012. She told them that she was moving. Gamis was known as a free spirit, so no one reported her missing. In March 2016, 55-year-old Stephen Zelich pleaded guilty to first-degree reckless homicide in the murder of 21-year-old Jenny Gamez. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison. In February 2017, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for killing Laura Simonson. He was sentenced to an additional 25 years of prison. Then, in October 2017, 10 years were added to the 60 years he was already sentenced to for hiding the bodies. Stephen Zelich is serving his sentence for the murder of Jenny Gamez and hiding the corpses at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupun, Wisconsin. Once he's finished serving his sentence there, if he's still alive, he'll be sent to Minnesota to serve his sentence for the second-degree murder conviction he received for killing Laura Simonson. Number 1. Shahraban K. In the German legal system, people are only identified by their first names and the initials or the last names, so we will be doing that for this video. In August 2022, 23-year-old Shahraban K, who went by Sherry, was living with her parents in Munich, Germany. Sherry worked as a beautician. She had been married for 4 years, but recently moved out of the apartment she shared with her husband. She and her husband had ran a beauty salon. She and her husband had been fighting frequently in the months leading to the split up. Sherry had also been fighting with her husband's family. On August 16, 2022, Sherry told her parents that she was going to her former apartment, which she shared with her estranged husband, in Ingolstadt, a city about 50 miles north of Munich, to pick up her mail. When Sherry didn't return home, her parents went looking for her. In a residential area in Ingolstadt, they found her black Mercedes-Benz parked on the street. They saw the body of their daughter in the back seat under a blanket. It looked like she was dead. The car was locked, so they tried to break a window, but they couldn't. The police were called, and they got the door open. Sherry was dead. She had been stabbed dozens of times in the upper body, and her face was disfigured. The police instantly had a suspect, her estranged husband. They interviewed him immediately. He claimed he had nothing to do with the murder. He said that his estranged wife was violent and she had hit him several times. One time she smashed his head into a mirror. Another time she tried to run him down with her car. She had threatened him several times. He had even gotten a restraining order against her. An autopsy was conducted. The victim had been hit several times in the head with brass knuckles. She had been stabbed 56 times in the face, neck, chest, and back. There were no signs of sexual assault. The medical examiner noted something unusual. The body had several tattoos, but Sherry didn't have any tattoos. The tattoos did match a missing woman, identified only as Khadija O. Khadija had been last seen a few hours before the body was found. Khadija was a 23-year-old beauty blogger who looked remarkably like Sherry. Khadija lived in Heilbronn, which is about 130 miles from where the body was found. DNA testing confirmed it was Khadija's body and not Sherry's. About 22 hours after the body was found, Sherry went to a pizzeria in Ingolstadt and asked to use a phone. She told the owner that her SIM card was broken. The owner noticed that she looked distressed. The owner gave her his phone and she made 2 calls. At least one was to the police. Then she sat down in front of the pizzeria and waited for the police to arrest her. The police took her into custody a short time later. Later that night, Sherry's friend, 25-year-old Shahraban K, who went by the name Cece, was arrested at the apartment he shared with his mother. The apartment was a few hundred yards from where the body was found. Over the next year, the police investigated the pair, and they pieced together what they believed happened. Sherry was not happy in her marriage. She also loathed her husband's brother. She told people her brother-in-law made their lives miserable. He also apparently forced her to have an abortion. In January 2022, she met a man named Vulcan A. Vulcan told her if she paid him, he could kill her brother-in-law. In July 2022, Sherry told Vulcan that she would pay him 10,000 euros for the hit. She paid him 5,000 euros up front. But Vulcan never followed through with the job. He later said he never intended to kill the brother-in-law and just wanted to rip off Sherry. Sherry wanted to leave her husband and start a new relationship with a man that her family did not approve of. After being swindled out of the money, Sherry took steps to fake her death and frame her husband for the murder. She met Cece on Instagram a few days before the murder. Cece's mother said he was easy to manipulate. Also, Cece's friends and family said that he had become infatuated with Sherry. Sherry searched Instagram looking for a doppelganger so that she could kill her and make it look like she had died. She found 26 women who looked like her and reached out to at least 5. On August 9, 2022, about a week before the murder, the victim, Khadija, received a message from Instagram from a woman claiming to be associated with the German rapper Loon. The woman offered Khadija a role in Loon's next music video. Khadija contacted Loon via Instagram and asked her if the offer was real. Loon replied and told her it was a scam. 2 days later, Khadija received a message on Instagram from a different account. It was a woman who said she ran a cosmetic studio in Ingolstadt. She offered Khadija a free treatment during a photo shoot. The woman was then going to use the photos for advertisement. The woman offered to pick up Khadija at home and drive her to the studio. She gave Khadija the studio's address, which was the hair salon of Sherry's estranged husband. Khadija accepted the offer. The police tracked Sherry and Cece's phones throughout the night of the murder. After picking up Khadija, they started driving towards Ingolstadt. They stopped near a wooded area in Massenbachhausen. It's believed that they tricked Khadija to get out of the car. They think she was asked to read a road sign. Once she was out of the car, Cece punched her in the head repeatedly with the brass knuckles. He then stabbed her to death. When she was dead and disfigured, they loaded her body back into the car. Then they drove to Ingolstadt, where they abandoned the car. Sherry and Cece went to trial in January 2024. Sherry testified, and she admitted she tried to hire Vulcan to kill her brother-in-law. But she said she did not orchestrate the murder of Khadija. She claimed that Cece forced her to drive him to pick up Khadija. Then, as they were driving home, he got out to urinate. Khadija also got out to smoke. Then, Cece attacked her. Sherry said that after they returned to Ingolstadt, he threatened to kill her if she told anyone. The prosecution argued that Cece had no reason to murder a stranger who lived over 100 miles away. But Sherry wanted to escape her life. She wanted to leave her husband and be with a man her family didn't approve of. She thought if she killed her doppelganger and her family and the police believed it was her, it would have given her a chance at a new life. It's believed that Sherry had been planning to do something nefarious for years. On her phone that she used in 2016 and 2017, there were searches on how to buy a gun and how to go into hiding. Unfortunately, the trial's outcome could not be found, and Sherry and Cece's current status is unknown. In the media, the murder has been called the Instagram lookalike murder and the doppelganger murder. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out our new channel, Paranormally Listed. There's a link on the screen now, and there's a link in the description box below this video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.